Thank you. Baker and McKenzie is a global law firm, so in preparing for this paper I tapped into my network of environmental lawyers who are around the globe, and we looked at some of the key trends that we're seeing for global regulation in the waste industry around the globe. I don't pretend to be an expert in the minute detail of laws in every state, in every country, but these are some of the key trends that we saw. In this paper, I'm going to look at 6 different areas. So my slides are much more detailed than what I'll talk about because there's clearly a lot of material. But I'll look at landfill levies, landfill bans, plastic bag bans, food waste, product stewardship and container deposit and refund schemes. Here we go. So landfill levies. In Australia, as you'd be aware, there are a couple of states that don't have levies at all, being Queensland and the Northern Territory. And then in the other states, the levies range from levies of a small amount up to $120 to $130 a tonne. The New South Wales figure up there, people in this room will be aware, is incorrect. That should be approximately $133 for 2015, 2016. The purpose of the landfill levy is it acts as an economic instrument to tip the playing field so that alternatives to landfill or straight disposal are given a bit of an economic boost to incentivise those alternative methods of treatment. So what are we seeing around the globe? Probably 3 different trends. Firstly, the levies themselves in the states that have them and the countries that have them are generally increasing over the time. The second trend would be that those levies are being combined with landfill bans, so specific products are being excluded from landfill, and I'll get to that in a bit more detail, but both of those 2 mechanisms are being in combination in order to drive down the use of landfills. The levy itself on its own is not being solely used. And we're also seeing an increased sophistication with the way in which the levy is used. It's being targeted for waste types, for example. So in the UK, active waste has a levy of £80 a tonne, whereas inactive waste has a levy of £20 a tonne. We're also seeing some sophistication in terms of the source location for where the material's coming from in a differentiation of the rates and some other measures of that nature. We're seeing an increase in bans in various countries as to what materials are going into landfill. In Australia, we're seeing this trend start. South Australia has probably the most extensive list of materials that are banned from landfills, and the list runs from tyres to computer monitors and television to vegetative matters that are collected by council and to aggregated cardboard and glass packaging. Victoria is getting on the bandwagon. It will soon ban e-waste, but it's generally not something that we're seeing as being a distinctive or regular feature of the Australian regulatory landscape. Globally, we're seeing an increase in landfill bans more generally, particularly targeted in the areas of e-waste, tyres, biodegradable material and food. And there's also a trend towards banning certain wastes that haven't been pre-treated, such as municipal waste. So there's a requirement in some jurisdictions that waste goes through some form of AWT or mechanical biological treatment before it's permitted to be put into landfill. So as an example, in Massachusetts has got an extensive list of materials that can't go into landfill that's similar to what is banned in South Australia. Plastic bags. There's a number of states in Australia that ban plastic bags, or the single-use plastic bags, being ACT, South Australia, Tasmania and the Northern Territory. Surprisingly, there are, maybe perhaps not surprisingly to the people in this room, across the globe they are being banned in more and more places and in more and more countries. It started in Ireland in 2002. The biggest country to have recently banned plastic bags was China, and they did so in 2008. And staggeringly, they have reduced the number of plastic bags, reduced from 24 billion per year to a figure 2/3 that amount. Global consumption as a result of the increased use of bans on single-use plastic bags is slowly and steadily declining. Food waste is an area that's being significantly targeted as a problem waste. In Australia, though, we're not seeing any direct regulatory obligations in relation to food waste. We're seeing mechanisms that are targeted on education and soft methods to encourage people to consume or to purchase rather less material that's likely to be wasted and then to try and compost it, particularly with the New South Wales Love Food, Hate Waste campaign is a good example. There's been an increase in the use of food and garden organics combined collection systems, but we're not seeing this as a response to a specific regulatory mechanism that's targeting food waste, but more as a general response in an effort to divert material from landfill, perhaps as a result of the implication of landfill levies. Across the globe, though, we're seeing much more active methods that are being used to divert food waste from landfill. There are a number of countries and a number of regimes that are similarly using a soft sell approach in relation to food waste, but some other jurisdictions are being much more active about it, including jurisdictions in the EU and notably a couple of states in the US, one of which is Massachusetts, which has banned commercial food waste from any entity that produces more than a tonne per week of material by location from sending that material to landfill. So any supermarket, any shopping centre, any university campus that produces more than a tonne of food waste per week needs to enter into arrangements to send it somewhere other than landfill. Product stewardship, slowly coming into vogue in Australia after a long gestation and a long history of its use in the EU. At the moment, it's targeting a relatively small number of products, although the list will slowly expand. The TV scheme for televisions and computers has been in force for a little while. It's having a little bit of a bumpy start, but some changes in the future should smooth those problems out. End-of-life air conditioners and refrigerators with small gas charges are on the list. Waste architectural and decorative paint will soon come within a product stewardship scheme, as will tyres. Across the globe, generally we're seeing a greater use of product stewardship schemes. As I mentioned, the EU has had such schemes in place for a long time. Asia is also coming on board, particularly in relation to electrical and electronic equipment and some cover packaging. And North America has had some schemes in place for a while, including in relation to lamps and other mercury-containing products. Container deposit schemes, a topical issue in Australia at the moment. For anyone who's attended some of the other sessions, particularly looking at this issue, South Australia's had a scheme in place for a long time. The Northern Territory has implemented one a little bit more recently. It also had a bumpy start at the beginning, but it's now up and running now. New South Wales has announced that it will shortly implement its own scheme, and it's expected that some of the other states who have said that they're not quite ready for it now, but may go with it if there's a little bit more of a consensus around the country, such as Queensland, perhaps the ACT, perhaps Victoria, may also get on board and implement some container deposit schemes in Australia. Across the globe, they've been in place for a long time. There are a very large number of such schemes. As a general trend, we're seeing a significant interest in these schemes, and highly effective rates of return are being achieved as a result. Thank you very much.